really taught me you cannot rely on your doctors to advocate for you. You have to advocate for yourself.
Fill me up till my cup. Welcome to Her Story Untold Studios, where resilience meets inspiration. I'm your host, Tanir. Every story we share here is a testament to the power of faith, strength, and perseverance. I'm excited to have my guest here today. If she can start by introducing herself and share a little bit about what she has going on.
All right. My name's Amber. I am a wellness coach that focuses on Black women and women of color. So I help Black women of color to set up like wellness plans and things for ourselves. Because one, from personal experience, the our healthcare system is not meant for us. I'm one of those people that's been undiagnosed, mixed diagnosed, all those things. But on top of that, I just feel like as a culture, especially for Black women, our health and wellness is usually put to the back burner because we're taught to put everyone before ourselves. So what I do is empower women to kind of take control over their health and put themselves first.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. Can you share your experiences or observations regarding discrimination in the healthcare system?
Yeah. So one of my biggest experiences is kind of like a breast cancer scare. I felt in my breast. I went to the doctor. They did the ultrasounds and they told me I had lumpy breast disease. And I went back multiple times. It checked you every 3 to 6 months. I went for like a year or so. Lumpy breast disease, lumpy breast disease. One that I ended up learning is that the textbooks tell doctors that Black women are less likely to get breast cancer. So that's never their first thought. And so oftentimes, statistically, Black women are, when they do have breast cancer, they are often diagnosed later when they're in later stages. And so Black women die at a higher rate than white women from breast cancer because they're not detected soon enough. So fast forward a couple years later, I'm with a totally different insurance, a CT scan for something completely different. I have thyroid issues, so they were testing a bunch of stuff. And in that CT scan, that doctor noticed a lump in my breast. And this particular hospital that my insurance was connected with, Memorial Care, they have a breast center. So all the radiologists, the ultrasound techs, all they do is breast ultrasounds, mammograms. That's all they biopsies. That's all they do. And so I went there for an ultrasound, thinking, oh, they're just going to confirm it's lumpy breast disease. And both my breasts, they checked the left breast totally fine. The one on the right was concerning. They were pretty confident it wasn't cancer, but it was 8 centimeters, and they were like, it's not a cyst. This needs to be biopsied. This particular place, they said, we'll do the biopsy right now. We'll worry about the authorization later. They do a biopsy, a mammogram, all that stuff right then and there. Thankfully, it was a benign tumor, and I was able to remove it. But I can just think about that was 4 or 5 years difference. That could have been life-changing for me,
Right.
you know? And so it's very scary to think about. Like, I did all the things they tell you to do. I did a breast exam. I felt pain. I went to the doctor and I was told that it was really not even a tumor, just a cyst and nothing to worry about. And so that's one of the, like probably like the biggest scares I've had was like, oh, they really like this is not like you can't. That really taught me you cannot rely on your doctors to advocate for you. You have to advocate for yourself and do your own research. And between that and my thyroid, when I did was diagnosed with thyroid nodules in like 2019. It's the first time someone ever even noticed there was an issue with my in your thyroid's right here's an issue in your throat, and they noticed a lump in my breast. I mean, a lump in my throat when I swallowed. Been there for years, but no other doctor ever noticed it or did a physical to ever notice it. And it's like something I probably could have start. And I don't know if you know anything about your thyroid. It affects your whole body, your
Yes.
hormones, your endocrine system. And so, by the time I actually went to a doctor, they did physical, got checked, I had been feeling horrible. And I'm like, this is why. And if someone would have actually done that and actually checked me like that, I would have been feeling better a whole lot sooner. And so, I think that is my story of like kind of like discrimination and the just knowing statistically they're not meant for Black people, especially Black women.
I agree. They speak a lot about us women of color, especially when with any diagnosis or health concerns. But for me, it was pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
How they care, how they, take care of you, you
Absolutely.
make sure you're
Mm-hmm.
good. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of women of color don't want to have their babies in the hospital.
Hospital. Absolutely. I didn't
Well,
want to either. Yeah. Yeah.
like, I want to have the baby at home.
Uh-huh.
And my mom was like, no.
Yeah. Really, for finance reasons, we didn't, but that's what I really wanted to do because of, we hear the statistic of Black women dying in hospitals
Yes.
from birth. And that scared me before I was pregnant, then I got pregnant, but then it was just really something we couldn't afford. So we just prayed about it and prayed we'd be safe. And thankfully we came out of it okay.
That is so
Yeah.
true. Opinion, what role do unconscious biases play in the misdiagnosis?
One, like I said, like one, their textbooks just have that bias in it. But then two, I think that because they strictly go by the textbook, they don't let like experience like show, like for example, my mom always talks about how she used to have a doctor when we were little who didn't have kids, and because the textbooks say babies don't get fevers when they're teething, that he was like, they can't be having a fever, you know what I mean? It's just like they don't have they lack the um I guess a lot of doctors also with the unconscious bias don't have like bedside manner, and it's strictly the textbook and nothing out of it. They don't let like lived experiences like into their work. And so with that, it is the like not listening to their patients. Like they say, I don't, this is how I feel, or this is what I'm experiencing, and they're like, that has nothing to do with that. Like there's no, that they don't connect the two. Like from my experience as well with my thyroid nodules, they say, the doctors will say my lab results are normal or my ultrasound looks normal, so you should be feeling fine. But I don't feel fine. There's something more to it, and they stop it there. And so I think that plays a big part of like the unconscious bias is that by their textbooks, and they're really not open to like even you questioning them. Like they don't want to have that conversation. They're like, this is my authority on this. I'm the one that went to school for all these years to specialize or whatever. And I think that hinders like the wellness of people. Like they don't necessarily want to educate. They just want to be like, this is your diagnosis. Here's some medicine. Go on about your life type of thing, which I don't think is helpful to anybody, but companies, because you keep coming back. But yeah, I think
Right.
that, yeah. Hmm.
So, what resources you would say or symptoms have you found helpful?
For me, I am like, and my husband makes fun of me, I am like a Google queen. I look up everything, look at different aspects of everything. I get my lab results back and I'm like, what does this mean? Informed a lot of times too. I've Doctors would be like, oh, your labs are fine, whatever, but they don't tell you what your labs mean, how they affect you, or things like that. Also, as a health coaches, they do know a lot. So found my insurance, thankfully, they cover naturopathic doctors. They cover an integrative nutrition clinic. Typically, insurances don't cover those things, and you got to pay out of pocket. But like naturopathic doctors, functional medicine doctors, they look at the whole picture of you. And even I've had two appointments with my naturopathic doctor, and part of the conversation is, how are you feeling? What do you feel like needs to happen next? And so they let you rely on your intuition and give you that autonomy and kind of help you be a part of the conversation of like your treatment plan, which I think is helpful. I think part of me thinking with the empowerment is knowledge is power. So I'm not just wanting to be like, oh, this is how I can help you, but here's the knowledge to help yourself moving forward after we're done with with creating your wellness plan or doing a 6-month coaching session, you have the tools you need to continue to do it without me if necessary. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I don't, and I feel like that's what our healthcare system does. They want us to rely on the doctors and keep going back and back and back. And I think that empowering, giving people knowledge to do it on their own, here are the steps of how to do that so that you can then take that with you when you're done to apply it to other situations in your life, health or otherwise. Yeah.
Right. It's just kind of like we get like mediocre service.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like people say, it's like our healthcare system isn't about preventative medicine. It's about like, and not even necessarily cures. It's just like, here's like medicine to keep you, to make you feel better in the moment, but it's not like actually healing you. It's just like getting rid of symptoms most of the time, I feel like.
I agree.
Hmm.
So, how can the healthcare system be improved or better serve Black women?
I think that one, there needs to be in every level of our healthcare system, like Black women and women of color, Black women becoming doctors, nurses, admin, all those types of healthcare systems. Also, thankfully, it's becoming more and more popular now. Health coaches can become board certified and you can work with insurances and work in hospitals. And so that's becoming a bigger thing. So, since doctors really can't sit down with you and go over like the small things like that and help walk you through, like they tell you to change your diet, but how realistic is that for some people most of the time?
Right.
Like, a lot of times you get information from the doctor and it's extremely overwhelming and they don't have the time to sit down with you and help you create a plan. And so a lot of insurances and things are now covering health coaches, and hospitals are hiring board certified health coaches, which is, to help with that. So I think that is important. It's more than just sitting down with your doctor; it's having someone to walk alongside you. But I think the biggest thing is us in all parts of the health, being integrated in all parts of the healthcare system. I think that's really the only way, or even just not even just healthcare system in the in med schools and things like that. I'd be like the basis of changing the way med schools teach their doctors, having more like more professors and things there. The textbooks need to change. So I think it's going to be a long process before it's really going to be able to help us in that way in changing in that way. But I think like that root cause problem would be to like we need to be more integrated in all parts of like teaching doctors, becoming doctors, the admins in hospitals and things like that.
Okay. Can you tell a little bit, Amber, about your experience after losing your grandparents?
Yes. Um, in August 2023, I lost my first grandparent, my grandfather. I called him Papa, and I was also about 2.5 months pregnant when I lost him. So we actually didn't quite know the gender or anything yet, but we knew it was coming for him. Um, and so the day he passed, the day before that, my mom called and said, "Hey, the doctors say he has about 48 hours. So you guys need to get down here." And so I let my job know, like it was like a Thursday and a Friday, and I was like, I told my job I'm gonna take Thursday and Friday off. I need to spend time with my grandfather. So me and my husband, we go down. My grandfather was a veteran, so he was in the VA hospital in LA. And so we go down to the hospital. By the time we get down there, he's not responsive necessarily. He's there, but he's like in and out. If you talk to him, you kind of hear him. And so we kind of spent the day just kind of hanging out with him. My parents were there, family, friends, kind of coming in and out. And then my husband and I came home and we were like, we'll go back up there tomorrow. Late into the night, about 10 o'clock or so, I get the call that he passed. Which was really hard because I was pregnant. So it was, I think it helped and it hurt. I didn't give myself the time to grieve because I was pregnant and I needed to protect myself from the baby.
Right.
But it also helped. It gave me a reason to keep moving. Um, My second grandparent passed. Before that, it was also really hard. Though my husband and I were already married, we went to the courthouse in February. We were having our big wedding in November, and so he wasn't there for my big wedding, which was hard. And then this year, I lost my other grandfather to prostate cancer, and my grandmother when he passed. I brought my son down to meet her for the first time, and I felt help encourage her spirits. He's been in the hospital for a couple days. I didn't think he had much longer. Mother took it really, really hard, and she actually passed 2 months later from broken heart syndrome. So I lost three grandparents in about a year and 2 days. So
What's this, Amber?
thank you. Mm-hmm.
So, how has that impacted you emotionally and mentally?
I think that it's impacted me hard emotionally and mentally, especially my second grandfather that passed. My son didn't get a chance to meet. So he's only met one of his grandparents that passed, one of his great grandparents that passed. But that now that I really some time again off of work, I had my maternity leave, and then in California. We get paid for family bonding leave when your baby's still under a year old, and so I'm on this time off from work, so I'm not like trying to run a business, work, and take care of a 6 month old. So I kind of have some time to myself, and I've been really having the time to kind of process my grief. And so, which I think a lot of times we don't do, we just kind of push and push forward. And I finally had that time to rest, and my body's like, this is your time to really think about all of this stuff. Me, mostly emotionally, I'm a really big empath. I feel everything from other people. Um, right now, with the grieving process of it, and really like, yes, these were my grandparents, but this was my mom's mom, dad, and stepdad. And so really also just being there for my mom, for and foremost. Yes, I lost three grandparents. She lost three parents in a year, you know. And also teaching my mom how to take that step back and grieve. She's a very strong woman who's there for everyone else. And I always tell her, you don't take that time to process things. And so, but as I've been processing it, part of it is I've been really busy these next couple years, and I really wish I spent more time with them. Thinking about, yes, I'm thinking about the good times I've had with them. Got to have 32 years with them, which is a beautiful thing, but also wishing that I spent more time with them, going to visit them and things like that. Life gets busy, and sometimes you forget, or feel like you have the time to spend more time with them, and you
Right.
oftentimes, so it's like a realization that you don't. Which also did make me think, but I do have other grandparents that are thankfully still here, and finding that time on this time I have off from work to go see them for myself, having my son be able to meet them. He may not necessarily remember these moments, but I still think they're important. He can look back and see photos of his great grandparents. But really, just I think emotionally and mentally, just really me thinking about also just slowing down, like the importance of taking that time to spend with family more and more. I do spend a whole lot of time with my parents and things like that, but thinking more and more about like my grandparents. A lot of them probably won't. Hopefully, they're here a whole lot longer, but you just never know. But the importance of actually finding ways to integrate, spending more time with like family and close friends in my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, can you share with us a memory that you have from each of your grandparents?
Yeah. Mostly like so my grandfather, the one that passed first, I call him Papa. My Papa actually used to live with us when we were younger for a very long time until we kind of moved out of LA. So that's always been really special to me, especially because for a very long time, until I was about 12 or 13, I was his only granddaughter. had other grandsons like my brother and my cousins, but for the first 13, 14 years of my life, we had a really special bond because I was his only granddaughter for a really long time. And so things like that, he loved to spoil the women in his life, his daughters, his grandchildren. So he would always take me shopping, or some of my first really expensive things were from him. Are going to really nice restaurants. His thing was, I'm going to show you nice things, so that doesn't. I want you to experience nice restaurants, nice things, so that when you meet a guy, you're not amazed by that. That's something you've already experienced. That's a standard, and not like, oh, he took me to this really nice place. And so I think a lot of that stuff with him, in regards to my grandfather, Johnny, he loved to give everyone nicknames. And so like my cousin TJ, my cousin Q, my nickname from everybody since I was in my mom's stomach was Tanirpw. And then it's usually just her presence. She's a very quiet, reserved woman, really kept to herself. But with her, spending time with her is like watching TV with her. So just like we used to spend, me and my cousins used to spend a lot of time, especially during the summer and stuff, at our house. And so when I think of spending time with my granny or spending time at her house, there's even for a time where my family lived there in between moving. But just like watching, she loved to watch old TV shows or the news and like things like that for us, yeah.
Advice would you give someone that's dealing with grief or discrimination?
Yeah. In returns to like discrimination in the healthcare is advocating for yourself. You can just because that person is your doctor doesn't mean they have to continue to be your doctor. And like yourself, find different resources. If you're dealing like with me, thyroid disorders, I've looked at books, I've listened to podcasts, I've tried alternative medicine, things like that. Like do your own research and don't just listen to what the doctors are telling you. In terms of grief, I would say actually take the time to grieve. There are good days, there are bad days. Some days are better than others. And there's no set time for your grief. Grief ebbs and flows. You could think you're okay, and 2 years later, you're not. And so I would say actually take the time to find ways to process your grief. Take that time off of work. Talk to people. Like I know when my grandfather passed, my brother had, at some point, my brother was living with him for a while, and they were having a conversation, and my brother just like recorded their conversation. So now I have this voice memo of my grandfather's voice. But think about those, I would say think about those good memories, but also be okay in your grief, no matter how long it takes. I don't think there's really a time limit on your grief.
Okay. A message or a call to share with those who are listening and learning about these issues.
Yes. Are dealing with any type of health issues or just wanting to take control of your health. I do have a single session known as the Holistic Health Intensive, and so where we sit down and talk about your goals in your in each pillar of your health, which is your emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual health. We sit down and we determine those goals, and we come up with an action plan that you can take away with you, and walk away with that action plan to start taking control of your health. If you're looking for a more in-depth coaching things, I do provide 3 and 6 month coaching. It's called the Majestic You Health Coaching. Fun fact, my middle name is Majestic, which is why I called my company Majestic Health. It means to be royal and royalty, and I believe that's what Black women and women of color are. So it's kind of that two-headed goal. But if you're interested in either of those services, you can follow me at Coach Majestic on Instagram. You can DM me on there, or you can email me at amber@majestichealth.co, and we can schedule a discovery call.
Great. All the
Mm-hmm.
information Amber just said will be linked in the description under the video. So reach out to her if you have any questions, you want to see what she got going on. Before, she's a coach, so go tap in over there, okay?
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Amber, for being
You're so
here.
welcome. Thank you for having me.
Honored to have you here today.
Thank you.
If there's anything else that you would like for us to know, any updates,
Um,
events, anything?
right now, like I'm just coming out of maternity leave and then grieving grandparents, so I've been taking it slow. This is kind of my
Okay.
ease back. I used to actually have a podcast and then I got pregnant and it's just been a whirlwind. So I'm kind of easing my way back. And so I've been kind of
Yes.
scheduling a bunch of different podcast being guests on a couple podcasts, trying to step my toe back into the water.
Awesome. Always welcome to come back here. If you have
Thank
anything that you
you.
would love to share with us,
Of course.
welcome. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
tuning in to Her Story Untold Studios. If this episode resonated with you, please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until
Absolutely.
next time, keep shining and sharing your story. Bye. Great.